What's up, everybody? This is your boy Uber Hikari, aka the Nerd Nigga, here to bring you another video with no frills, just the analysis. And today I'm here to bring you the Season 3, Episode 15 review of The Walking Dead entitled This Sorrowful Life. And I wasn't happy with this episode. I'm just not feeling this show. I'm just not feeling this show. And I don't know. The show is not bad. It's not like the show. And I mean the show overall. It's not like the show overall is bad. It's just that I'm just not scared. I feel no horror. And if there's no horror while you're watching a horror show, then it's boring. It's just not. It's just. I mean, it's like what it's like. I don't know. Watching a scary, like, you know what I'm talking about. Watching a scary movie that's just not scary. It could be good in every other aspect. You can have good characterization, good pacing. It can have an interesting concept, an interesting premise. But if it's a horror show and you're not scared, then something is wrong. It's just something must be wrong with the show. If it's a horror show and it's not scary and you're not scared, then there's something wrong with the show. And I was just so unhappy with this episode and just this whole season in general. At least the last half of this season, that I had to just take an hour just to calm down and get all of my thoughts in order. But yeah, I was initially I was very excited for this episode because I got a lot of messages from people telling me that this show was going to be awesome and that it would just have what I was looking for. But it just didn't. And this episode really confirmed a couple of things for me. First, it confirmed what I already suspected, which is that Scott Gimple is the best writer the TV show has. Period. A bar none. Not even debatable. He wrote this episode. And like I said, it's not that the show is bad. Like this episode, it's not that this episode was bad, because Scott Gimple's a great writer. It's just I wasn't scared. It's just no horror in the show. And yeah, so number one, Scott Gimple's the best writer for the show, bar none. Two, the show is probably irretrievable at this point. Not, and I don't mean the show overall. I mean this season. And at the very least, the last half of this third season is just absolutely irretrievable. There's no way it can be recovered in the last episode of this season. It's just not possible. And like I said, the show isn't bad. It's just not entertaining because it's not scary. And third, I am glad this fucking prison arc is over. I am just happy. I am so happy it's over because I can't take it anymore. I really can't take it anymore. And I'm pretty sure the prison arc is going to be over with the next episode because I can't imagine how they would stretch it out any longer. Because by the time we got to episode 9, Suicide King, the battle lines were pretty much drawn in that episode. The governor knew, or at the very least in episode 10, the governor knew who attacked him. Rick knew who the governor was. They knew that there was going to be an inevitable clash. And if we go starting from episode 10, and that's being generous, then you figure there's 6 episodes after that to continue to draw the battle lines and to set up the inevitable confrontation. Because 6 episodes is already a stretch, I think. I think 6 episodes is already a stretch. If there's going to be 16 more episodes next season, you got to figure the prisoner arc wouldn't be over until the mid-season hiatus. So that's 8 more episodes. There's no way they can stretch this prisoner arc out for 8 more episodes. So if the next week's episode is not the end of the Rick and Governor confrontation, I'm going to be pulling my freaking hair out. Seriously. I'm going to be bald the next time you see me. Because I just can't imagine how they could stretch the confrontation out any longer than they already have. So let's get right into this episode specifically. First, let's talk about Merle. I don't give a shit about Merle. Never gave a shit about Merle. I don't give a fuck that he was killed. I don't care that he was turned into a walker. In fact, I'm happy because that's what that piece of shit deserved. He deserved to die that way, and he deserved to be brought back as a walker. And you could tell the governor did that on purpose because he didn't shoot him in the head. He knows if he shoots him in the head, he's not going to come back. He shot Merle in the chest. So the governor had to have known what he was doing when he did that. And he wanted Merle to come back as a walker. And I feel like that's just desserts for Merle. I have no sympathy for him whatsoever. And on top of that, I am not buying what was essentially a deathbed redemption. Not buying it whatsoever. So this scene really didn't have the emotional impact that I'm assuming the writers were going for. Didn't phase me one bit. And I think they pretty much botched this. They botched the whole Merle death and everything that his character was supposed to be. There's two ways to look at this. The first way to look at this is to say, wow, boy, Merle got some great character development in this episode. Awesome. He let Michonne go at the end. He redeemed himself. He tried to take out the governor for his brother and the people at the prison, and he just went all out to redeem himself. You can look at it that way, or you can look at it this way, which is the way I look at it. And you can say, what the fuck was going on here? What the hell happened to Merle? What what the hell? Just what the hell, man? Merle, and it's not even like he wasn't a psychopath the first time we saw him. And he just kind of steadily became this. And so it would make more sense if he redeemed himself because he was initially a redemptive type of person. But he was a psychopath from Jump Street. I mean, this is a guy who kidnapped Glenn and Maggie for shits and giggles. Brought them back to the governor, who he knew was, shall we say, a less than ethical person, helped to torture them, strapped freaking Glenn to a chair and locked him in the room with a walker, and he killed people just because. Look at what he did to Car Julio or Car Julio, whatever his name was. Just killed him because he disagreed with him. So this is a guy who's an absolute psychopath. So where did his magnanimity come from all of a sudden? Where did his benevolence come from all of a sudden? And at one point in the episode, Michonne and Merle were even talking about all the people that Merle killed. And I'm just like, what the hell? He just did a complete 180. Not believable at all. No, in no way. No way am I buying this. Not plausible. Not narratively plausible at all. And why in the hell would he let Michonne go? What the hell? I don't get it. I just don't get it. And I'm watching this episode. 10 minutes goes by. 20 minutes goes by. 30 minutes goes by. And I'm thinking, yeah, man, Merle's about to take Michonne to the governor. Of course, I would have went ham if he did that. But the way that they decided not to have Michonne go to the governor was just so ridiculous. We get to like minute 40. 40 minutes into the episode. And then all of a sudden, Merle turns to Michonne. It's like, you know what? I'm just going to let you go. What the hell, man? Completely inconsistent with his character up to this point. Just made no freaking sense. None whatsoever. And I feel like the writers were just trying to pull the wool over our eyes with this. It's a cheap writer's trick. A very, very cheap writer's trick. And everybody has seen it before. You want to kill off a character, or you know that a character is about to be killed off. So, and you want to utilize his death to the fullest extent. And generally the way you do that is by having the death have a significant emotional impact on the reader or the viewer. And so a lot of times what writers will do is they say, well, shit, this guy was a psychopath. Nobody likes him. So how can we make his death emotional? We'll redeem him. That's what we'll do. We'll redeem him. We'll have a deathbed redemption, and all will be forgiven, and everybody will cry how this character redeemed himself, and now he's dead. And that will make everything emotional and make everything all right. No, no, I'm not buying that crap. Not buying it at all. You can't build up this Michonne exchange for 40 minutes into a freaking 1 hour episode, have this psychopath knock her ass out, and plan to exchange to bring her to a psychopath, and then all of a sudden he has this moral conversion. Not buying it. Not buying it at all. Now I will say this: I did feel sorry for Daryl when Daryl saw Merle, and that was great acting. That was very emotional scene for Daryl, especially when Daryl just couldn't even bring himself to kill Merle, the Walker version of Merle. He was pushing them away and crying. That really did tug at my heartstrings, but not because of Merle. I don't give a shit about Merle. Now let's talk about the Michonne subplot. First of all, this whole subplot was based on a plot hole, just a ridiculous plot hole. I forget what episode it was in, but in the episode where Andrea escaped from Woodbury and she went to visit Rick and the group at the prison, Rick flat out told Andrea, I don't know when, I don't know how, but I'm going to kill the governor. He's got to die. We can't negotiate. No peace talks. He's dead when I see him. He's a dead man walking. That's essentially what Rick told Andrea. Then a couple of episodes later, and what makes it so bad is not only the fact that Rick didn't even kill the governor when he had the chance. I mean, he had the gun pointed at this man, and the governor had his hands up like this. Had the gun pointed at this man, could have shot him. Insta kill. The fact that he didn't kill the governor is not even, I mean, that's a problem, but it's not even the biggest problem. The biggest problem is there's no freaking explanation for why Rick didn't kill him. I could understand if there was some more character exposition and there was some explanation why Rick came to the conclusion that maybe he could negotiate with the governor. But it was no explanation. He just went from, in one episode, I'm going to kill the governor, to, okay, let's talk it out. Let's negotiate. No explanation. And then on top of that, he spends an hour drinking whiskey with this guy and negotiating. I just don't get it. That was number one. Number two, on what basis did Rick ever think he could trust the governor? What the hell? These are just the actions of the character of Rick are just inexplicable. Just absolutely downright inexplicable. On what basis did Rick ever think that he could trust the governor? Why did Rick? I mean, the governor tells him, okay, if you give me Michonne, I'll leave you alone. That's it. I won't come after you anymore. We can live peacefully after that. But just give me Michonne. Why would Rick believe the governor? Why? He goes from, I'm going to kill this man when I see him, to all of a sudden we can negotiate, and he's negotiating in good faith. After everything he knew about the governor going into that to those negotiations, on what basis did he ever think he could trust the governor? Never any explanation for this. Like I said, inexplicable, completely glossed over by the writers. And not only that, not only did Rick seem to genuinely believe that he could trust the governor, because remember, in the end, he didn't give up Michonne because he thought that he couldn't trust the governor. He decided not to give up Michonne because he thought it was the wrong thing to do. So up until the very end, it seemed like he genuinely believed that he could trust the governor. And what makes it even worse is that nobody else questioned him about this. Herschel and Daryl, the two people he told about the exchange, they never said, well, Rick, first of all, I think that it's wrong to hand over Michonne. Number one. But number two, why do you think you can trust him, Rick? He hasn't given us any reasons to believe that he can be trusted up until now. So why would we trust his word now? Daryl and Herschel never pressed him on this. Never. So, I mean, the whole Michonne subplot was already on shaky ground coming into this episode. It was already on shaky ground to begin with. And now that we got the last minute moral conversion of Merle, it's pretty much what the fuck. Like, what the hell, man? Everything leading up to this subplot was already a little ridiculous. And now it's just like, you must take me for a sucker. Cause I mean, if you think I'm gonna buy this, you must think I'm a sucker. I mean, that's what it felt like. And then on top of that, the resolution of the subplot was absolutely silly. This like freaking silly season. Rick goes and tells everybody, listen, I was about to give up Michonne, but you know what? I changed my mind. Don't want to do it anymore. But he said it in a way that made it seem like Michonne was the lucky one. I mean, imagine that. Rick is going to team up with the psychopath, Merle, to betray a good person and send her to another psychopath, the governor. And somehow he sugarcoats this in such a way that it makes it seem like Michonne should be happy with the situation. Like, what the fuck? Seriously? You know what, Michonne? Hell, man, I know you're a great person. I know you saved Carl's life a couple of episodes ago. I know you're great. You're a dependable, reliable person. I want you on this team. You know what? I was about to send your ass to the governor, and I know he was gonna torture you. Maybe he might have raped you. He'd have definitely tortured you though, and you would have definitely been killed. But guess what? I changed my mind, and now you're one of us. Congratulations! Like she just won the freaking lottery or something. I mean, shit. What kind of lottery prize is that? Somebody come up to me and tell me, hey man, I was plotting to have you killed, but guess what? It's your lucky day, man. I changed my mind. Now, what person in their right mind would stay with a group like that? These people come to you and tell you they were plotting to have you killed. Now, what person in their right mind would stay with a group like that? Really? Come on now. Come on now. Let's be serious. That's a hell of a lottery prize. Shit. I hope they don't put no prizes like that in my Happy Meal. I wouldn't want it. Take it back. Then I gotta talk about Rick's speech. Rick's speech at the end of the episode was complete horseshit. Absolutely complete horseshit. And I find it ironic. And I would invite you to join me in this irony. I find it ironic that Rick gives this speech, and yet it had nothing to do with this sorrowful life. Because that's what the title of the episode was. This sorrowful life. Sounds like some pretty somber shit, right? Sounds like, hey man, this shit's about to get serious. This is a sorrowful life. And instead, what kind of speech does Rick give? An edifying speech, uplifting speech. Where I can't be the leader anymore, right? I can't lead the group anymore. It can't be a dictatorship anymore. We're gonna have democracy. We're gonna vote, and I believe in the power of community and friendship and all those good things. And you know what? I want to do the right thing. 2 episodes ago, this man wouldn't even pull over his car for a traveler on the road. Came back after he saw this man had been eaten by zombies, picked up his shit, and kept it moving. And a couple of episodes later, this is the guy telling you that we're now going to start doing the right thing? Really? Seriously? That speech ain't have shit to do with A Sorrowful Life. Nothing. Absolutely nothing to do with A Sorrowful Life. And this is not how characters in a horror show should be acting, and this is not how they should be talking. They should be freaking scared out of their minds. They should be horrified. They should be traumatized. They should be terrified. I mean, because if this is really A Sorrowful Life, this is what they should be going through. They shouldn't be talking about democracy and community and doing the right thing and I love you guys and we'll get through this and all that other bullshit. This is a horror show. It's time for these people to start acting like they're in a real freaking horror show. And just in case you guys didn't know, the title of this episode comes from volume 6 of the comic book series, which is entitled This Sorrowful Life. And it fits for the comic book because in volume 6, some real shit happens. Some real scary, horrifying, traumatizing, terrifying shit happens. So it makes sense for the title of that volume to be This Sorrowful Life. Not for this episode. A episode where a man has a moral conversion right before he dies, and where the leader of the group is talking about democracy and community and doing the right thing. And what gets me about this whole thing is that when I was watching the first like 20 minutes of The Talking Dead, because that comes on right after The Walking Dead, all the writers and producers and the actors were talking about, yeah, man, they're all scared. They're scared out of their minds. They think they're about to go to war with the governor. They didn't look scared to me in this episode. They look scared to you. None of them look scared. I mean, Glenn was about proposed to Maggie, and none of them looked scared. None of them had the symptoms of people who are scared. They looked resolute. That's what they looked. They looked resolute more than scared. Like the governor is going to attack us. We know we got to fight him. So let's just buckle down and do what we got to do. But they definitely didn't seem scared. They didn't seem scared at all. And this goes back to my whole problem with the governor. Governor's not scary. He doesn't scare me. Nothing he's ever done is cringeworthy in my estimation. Now, perhaps I have very high tolerance for horror. That could be true. But he's not scary to me. Not at all. And on top of that, if they were really scared of the governor, if they really thought they were going to go to war with the governor, you know the best way to solve that situation? A bullet in the head. When Rick saw the governor, should have killed him on sight. No more fear after that. No more scary after that. Just kill his ass. And everybody else who was out there. Because they got the drop on them. They were at the meeting spot before everybody else. When that van pulled up, they should have lit that shit up. Now let's talk about the governor. Flat out, I've just lost all hope for the governor. Just lost all hope for him. It's clear now that the writers never intended for the TV show governor to get to the point where he would be anything like the comic book governor. Now I understand all these things about, well, they wanted to give him some backstory and, well, they wanted to give him a complex psychology, but he'll never get to the comic book governor. I mean, I could see if there was a spectrum of him moving closer to the comic book governor, but it's the last episode of the season. I don't see him getting there at all. Shit, I mean, the only thing the governor's done with, he killed Axel. Come on now, he killed Axel. Who gives a shit about Axel, man? Completely disposable character, was completely inessential to the core group. It was freaking Axel, man. Nobody gave a shit about him. And honestly, when it comes to the villains of the show, I was more scared of Andrew than the governor. Because Andrew actually killed one of the core members of the group. He killed off T-Dog. He got T-Dog killed. He almost got Carol killed. He was scary. The governor to me is nothing but hype. Nothing but hype. Everybody's walking around the governor talking about how he's such a bad guy. He's bad to the bone and he's a bad mother. Shut your mouth. He's all hype. He hasn't done shit. And a perfect example of that is that torture chair. That torture chair, which he was preparing so meticulously in the last episode, laying out all his torture instruments like an episode of Dexter. Because that torture chair was for Michonne. Remember the chains from the beginning of the last episode that were supposedly the chains that were reminiscent of the chains that were used on Michonne's walkers? That was all freaking hype. They knew it was never going to come to that because Rick was never going to hand Michonne over to the governor. That torture chair shit was hype. That's all it was, hype. And Andrea is now in a torture chair, but I don't expect anything to happen to Andrea. And from the looks of things, she gets knocked out. She gets knocked around a bit. Maybe he punch her in the face a couple times. That's about it. But he ain't gonna torture her. I mean, honestly, it's hard to take a character serious as a villain in a horror show when he's not freaking scary. I mean, he never did, the governor never did anything that made you say, "Oh my God, this guy's crazy. He's sick. He's twisted. He scares the shit out of me." Never did anything like that. Now, the one thing I did like in this episode, however, was the characterization. Some of the characterization in this episode was just spot on, beautiful. Like I said, Scott Gimple has clearly established himself as the best writer for The Walking Dead. Particularly the scene with Rick. I really love that scene where Rick makes the decision to change his mind about handing Michonne over, and it was just very beautiful because there was Herschel reading passages from the Bible, and then there was the background music, and then Rick looks up and he sees Lori. It was I mean, Andrew Lincoln is just a awesome writer. I mean, not writer, awesome actor. I mean, you could see it in his demeanor, in his face, the stress and the strain that this moral dilemma was causing him. And when he looks up and he sees Lori and he begins to unwrap that wire, you know he's made the decision that he's just not gonna become like Merle. Basically, it's not gonna become like Merle. I like that. That was awesome. That conversion was believable, but not freaking Merle's. No way in hell. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. And based on how much of a letdown this episode was, I'm really not expecting much from the next episode, and I'm really hoping that this next episode ends the prison arc, and I really am hoping that there are no cliffhangers because I just want this shit to be over. Like that Keisha Cole song, I just want it to be over. I want it to be over. I want it done. So yeah, this was your boy Uber Hikari, aka the Nerd Nigga. Just brought you another video with no frills, just the analysis. Peace and have a blessed day.